Hi, good evening, and welcome to the TNT Show. I'm John Drummond, your host for the next 60 minutes. We've got a great show for you tonight. I know I say that every week, but this is truly the case this week. 177 shows, think about it. I mean, that's remarkable. And our guests get a full hour to talk about things that are important to them, and hopefully important to you too. And where else do you get quality discussion? It just doesn't happen. You go in the mainstream media, and you used to watch programs like Panorama, for example, Newsnight. It's all been diluted and it's been adulterated, and you don't get a quality discussion like we're going to provide for you tonight. So it's a great honour and a privilege. And let me just say a word of apology about last week's show. I'm afraid we had internet problems with Isabel Lindsay, but hopefully we can get her on a future show as soon as we can find a slot in her diary. So without any further ado, let me just talk very briefly about the fact that it's been another great day for British democracy. And we learned that the government is pressing ahead with its plans to cut the winter fuel allowance for poor pensioners. Of course, this will be disproportionately serious for people who live in the northern part of this island, i.e. people in Scotland, pensioners in Scotland, poor people in Scotland will suffer disproportionately because they very often have to have their heating on, as it were, around about October and November. I mean, and that's a requirement that lasts for sometimes 6 to 7 months. These are folks who have to choose between heating or eating, right? Now, it beggars belief that a Labour government would insist upon this. At the same time, listen to this, at the same time, right, the banks have been allowed to do two things. One is they've been allowed to take away the cap on bankers' bonuses. These are the poor, unfortunate folks who need a couple of $3 million a year minimum to get by as a bonus, not as a part of their sort of standard remuneration, but excess, extra. At the same time, we hear that the compensation that the banks previously had to provide for people who were victims of scams and frauds, which was around about 400k, has now been reduced to 85. So that's as a result of straightforward lobbying, sitting down with government ministers saying, I would like this to see happen. And instead of being shown the door, what happened was the Labour administration said, yes. So, and when you add into this toxic mix the fact that the King has bought 2 helicopters, not one, but 2. And we know that because as part of his deal with the state, where he's had an increased income from the state, that's you and me, he's able to afford to buy 2 helicopters while people may be choosing between heating and eating. These are his subjects. So without any further ado, having underscored what a great day this has been for British democracy, let's introduce our guest tonight. It's a real treat. Mark McGowan was once known as Chunky Mark, but more latterly as the artist taxi driver. Then any of you who have seen his Twitter contributions know that he's not somebody who pulls his punches and ducks and dives like most people you see on television and hear on radio who spent a lifetime avoiding the issues and not contributing much to their resolution. Mark is exactly the opposite. So it's a great pleasure to welcome to the show tonight, Mark McGowan.
Hey,
Hi,
how are we
Mark.
doing? Nice
I'm
one,
very
John.
well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm buzzing. I had a really good day. I was saying to you, been the Bethlehem. We did a writing group. The Bethlehem's the world's oldest mental health hospital. I'm one of the Bethlehem community, and we did a writing group and an art group. Went for a walk in the woods. But yeah, I mean, when we look at the politics and things that are going on, you're talking about the winter fuel allowance. I think in my sort of like news review this morning, I was talking about how the economy actually needs pensioners to die. It needs pensioners to sit in the cold, because if you push down at the bottom, the money, that's how do you think the billionaires get all their money? It's the same with like pushing down on housing. keep the landlords pushed down, keep housing scarce, and it keeps the property prices. So everyone who owns property, or everyone who's, you know, that's how the economy works. And Keir Starmer, because we got like dead babies in Gaza, like every time I turn on the internet, we got kids dead at the bottom of the English Channel yesterday, already off the news because they're not white billionaires. We didn't even hear their names. But Keir Starmer, this is what I wanted to, when you said, oh, what should we talk about tonight? I want to talk about Keir Starmer's kitten. Because Keir Starmer and his PR crew, they've said, get Keir a kitten. So they've got a Siberian kitten, and they're going to bring it into number 10. And this is like, you know, don't worry about, you know, kids in Gaza, kids in the English Channel. Don't worry about the pensioners freezing to death. You know, don't worry about the child benefit cap. You know, look at this kitten. And people like it. If you go on the internet, there's a lot of cats. There's a lot of kittens.
Yeah.
And people like it. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the, like Boris, he had Dylan, he had a little dog. And a lot of it is you think, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Well, it's PR.
Yeah.
And like, since they come into power, it's been an absolute disaster for Labour. You know, their PR, the way that they're pushing stuff.
Why, Mark, are they doing this?
Well, it's like they got a PR team who haven't got a clue what they're doing, because they're going, nah, they're like, they want to be seen to be tough. You know, they want to see that. So like they're, I think it was 6 children and a pregnant woman died in the English Channel. And the response from Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, was, we're going to tighten our borders. And look, Keir has got a kitten. So that's their message. Do you know what I mean? Because what they're trying to do with that, we're really tough. But Keir, look, he's got a kitten. So I think what they're doing with that is they're like, you know, just sending out these kind of messages, what they think people like.
But do you seriously think, I mean, I take your point, but it seems to me that's going to be a particularly hard sell as old people start dying in a few months' time. I think even that sort of sophistry and sleight of hand and dead cat thing is not going to work when people are actually dying.
Yeah, but they also talk about, like, you know, the energy markets, the international. I saw Ed Miliband in Parliament yesterday. It's an international market, and he was tearing a strip off of Richard Tice because he was going on about renewables, but Ed Miliband was actually saying renewable energy is the way to go. You know, if you want to get, you know, you don't imagine, because I like, even though what Ed's saying, I always believed if you as a government mandated, if you put on every single home, every single commercial property in the entire country, I think if you spent 50 billion on solar panels, everyone's going, yeah, but solar panels not going to. If you had fucking solar panels everywhere, even if it took 10, 20, 30, 40% off of people's bills, it's forever. Do you know what I mean? Solar panels, it can go on forever. And what that means is you won't have any more bills. Do you know what I mean? Because solar energy is free. They like it because that's when we were, I know you put up a thing about me doing the thing about the, the Macron report.
Yeah.
So what that was they saw the oil and they say, no, we need that, because Scotland wanted to go to be, you know, independent. They put in a whole thing saying, no fucking way. Because I can't even remember who was it, Dennis Healey or like one of the Chancellor at the time.
Yeah.
He went, no, we need that money in Westminster. And they just spunked the money up the wall.
Yeah.
They didn't even care. They didn't even do anything like what they did in Norway and have like a sovereign fund where they could reinvest the money. They just spent the money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were like Scotland's, and it's the whole Scottish independence thing. We were talking before the show. You know, when I was going up, I went up there a few times around 2014. It was a fantastic movement.
Oh yes.
You know, I really felt, you know, this was before the SNP had 50 over 50 MPs. You know, it was a time when they only had 6 MPs in Parliament. And what happened with that was everyone stopped talking about football. You know, it was always
Yeah.
sectarian stuff up in, you know, football and like different other arguments. There was loads
Yeah.
of politics stuff. But what happened was you got the likes of Mari Black, Chris Law, Tommy Shepherd. You had all these people
Yeah.
going to after the independence vote,
Yeah.
going, and they were doing caucuses, weren't they? They were all coming to like town halls and doing town halls, and
Yeah.
who wants to be the MP? Who wants to go put themselves
Yeah.
forward to be the MP? It was heady times. Do you know what I
It
mean?
was. Yeah.
People were like, "Oh my God, you know, we're going to get real people to be politicians. We're going to create a fantastic movement." But they just like, when you look back on that now, it's like 10 years now, isn't it? Could be
Yeah.
the anniversary. I don't even know. It must be 10 years. You think,
September the 18th. Yeah.
yeah. Is it just now? This is the
Coming
anniversary.
up. Yeah, coming
You
up.
know, I just realized. And then, do you know, like, they just wear you down. You know, after a while, they just like keep with the propaganda, keep going in like that. Should have won that vote. Should have won that vote. That would have destroyed the Tories. The Tories would have been out at the time. But people who were against the Tories at the time didn't even understand that in England.
Yeah, and I think too the Tories misread that vote. I think they thought that if we can bring the propaganda big guns to bear, we can easily win a Brexit referendum. But they didn't realise that the forces aligned against them had equal amounts of funding and investment. And unlike the Scottish situation, where most of the money was on the government side, I think
they had the red Tories though, like
yeah.
for the Scottish independent vote. They had the Labour Party. Do you remember when the Labour Party come up and they were dun,
Oh
dun,
yeah,
dun, dun,
remember it
dun,
well.
dun. They've sent up about 50 Labour MPs, remember, on
Yeah.
the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these folks were financed by the Tories. I mean, it was a joint exercise. I think when Brexit came along, it wasn't a joint exercise. It was a sort of mix match, and you don't win referenda unless you've got the sort of the real sort of pressure on the media, particularly. And I think the media elevated people like Nigel Farage in a way that wouldn't have been possible with any independent supporters, for example. That would just wouldn't have happened. So, and Farage has lived off that ever since. Frankly, he got a presence there, and he's exploited it ever since. But that's the nature of that. I want to talk to you a little bit about. We can come back to some of this later if you like. I want to talk to you about these riots that have been taking place and why they're pretty much restricted to England, and why people in England feel so terribly upset, and why people in Wales and Scotland don't. There has to be a reason for this, because the media is telling us these people are upset because it's a general set of issues that they're trying to deal with, and they're failing to deal with it. What's your analysis?
Well, I know, like, I'm not sure whether you know this, but England is a little bit racist. I mean, sad to say, it really is. And there's parts of England that is like that's 99% white, and they're still scared of foreigners. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's mainly due to sort of like, you know, it's not just in. I mean, I do get your point about it's not happening in Scotland and Wales, but across the world, you know,
That's true.
fear of the other is like one of the main tactics as a tool for power, you know, and it's quite often, you know, elections get fought. So like in America, for instance, they've got the presidential election coming up. So there will be like this thing about the border, you know, about Mexico. Yeah. So he's already started on that. So that's how people win elections, you know, is by making people scared of the boogeyman. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Making people scared of.
Well, you're absolutely right, because
someone's going to come.
Absolutely. When they did after the Scottish referendum, when the various proponents wrote books about the victory for the no side. I think one of the best-selling books was called Project Fear.
Yeah.
And they said that the Yes campaign is all about hope and opportunity.
Hope over fear. What's his name? Song.
Yeah.
What was it? Who's that guy that sings that song?
I don't recall offhand.
Yeah. It's someone in the chat will come up with it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But
yeah, he sung a song. It was a Scottish independence song at the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, they won that based on fear. They told old people, particularly, you're going to lose your pension. Yeah, it's all that sort of stuff. So fear works, and there's no question about that.
Yeah, you can only run a political election campaign on two things: either hope or fear. They're the only things you can That's the only thing that works. But I think the whole thing with racism it's fueled by the media. It's fueled by the right. It's fueled by the ruling powers. They actually want people. When you talk about things like the Brexit vote, for instance, what they did was they took European people, they took black and ethnic British, and they took refugees. They lumped them all together as one homogenous group. Yeah. And what they did was they said, "Oh, look," and that's how they won that vote. And through papers like the Daily Mail. So what they would do, they would have they would juxtapose pictures of the Brexit vote, and they'd be they use people dead, drowning at the bottom of the sea as a tool for power. They use the people's deaths, and and
there's also the scare stories about if you agree to this, if you stay in the EU, you'll be invaded by 50 million Turks, and you think, where's this coming from? I know lots of Turkish people. They have absolutely no intention of going to the UK and never did.
The song was Jerry Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Do you know Jerry Cinnamon?
Yeah.
Jerry Cinnamon. It was Carpe Diem, Hope Over Fear. That was the Scottish independence song.
Yeah.
But I think this whole sort of the things what happens with the riots. A lot of people. They get wound up by politicians, so it's not just even a drip thing. It's the whole, our whole lives we're being fed. I mean, there's immigrant. We're being fed stories of.
Yeah, there's a lovely piece. I would commend it to everybody who's watching tonight. It was in the New Statesman on the 31st of August, written by Anthony Barnett. And you should always read his stuff because he's always good for a thinking piece, as it were. And Anthony Barnett says, one of the issues for England, he says, is English people don't get a chance to talk about themselves. The Scots do, and they've been doing it for God knows how many decades now. The Irish have been doing it for centuries, and Welsh folks have been doing it certainly for the last 5 or 6 years. And he said there's nobody in England talking about what England wants, England's values, England's future. And he said what tends to happen is that it gets subsumed into this Great Britain thing. And it means that English people don't, for example, they look around and say, where's our parliament? And the politicians...
I think England's, they're the colonialists, do you know what I mean? They've gone round every single country in the world. The king sits in England. I always say the Prime Minister of England, do you know what I mean? And people say, well, he's actually the Prime Minister of the UK. But it's just nice just to reference that because they always think, and it's the same with people from London, they think they're the centre of the UK. England thinks it's the centre of the fucking world, in not just even Europe. They really have this kind of thinking about how great they are and how incredibly noble they are and how they play cricket. They've got their identity. Don't worry about that. They really have. And when you think about the hoity-toity and the sort of the landlords and the barons and the lords that rule this country, and they pump raw sewage. This green and pleasant land. They fucked up the rivers, the seas, the lakes. No, they don't care about it. They care about, they care about capitalism. They care about their money. Do you know what I mean? They care more about sort of like their capitalist instincts, and also they're holding on to power. I think it was the guy who wrote Hegemony of the Oppressed, the Italian Gramsci. We have to think, how are they doing this? How are they holding on to this power for so long? How do they do that? And his thing, do you know what his thing was, Gramsci? He said it was cultural hegemony. Yeah. And it's this thing that he wrote in prison when he was in, what's his name? The fascists locked him up. But what he was trying to say, what I think he was trying to say, is cultural hegemony. How do they stay in power? Is that they put themselves in these positions. So in this country, we can think about programs like The Crown or Downton Abbey, and how culturally and how through stories and narratives, these stories are ingrained. They're the rich, they're the fox hunters. They got the red jackets. They're the ones who have the fucking horses and stables. Yeah. And we've like what my friend Bernadette Devlin said, we're always one about like talking about property. Our property is a fucking bicycle. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We're lucky to own anything. And then it's, the thing is the cultural hegemony, the way the stories are told, the way that the pomp and ceremony, the way that it was King Charles just became the king, saying he's got 2 helicopters. The guy's got, he's got castles coming out of his ears. He's got Balmoral, Sandringham, Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace, Kensington Palace. Fucking, he's got like something like over 20. 2 helicopters. He's the richest. The sovereign of England is the most powerful person in the world. And people always say to me, "Yeah, but what about the president of America? But that's only a term of office." You imagine the Queen or King Charles, head of an entire army, head of a church. Then their face, their image is on money, one of the biggest currencies in the world. But they're also like, he's got the best real estate. The House of Sale would love to have like the real estate that King Charles has. But they got like so much. And then Keir Starmer, he comes out, he just gets elected. Where's the positivity? He says, no. Yeah. Things are going to get fucking worse. Yeah. It's going to get worse and worse. It's not for King Charles. He just got a 45 million bloody pay rise. He's got like £1 billion, a golden carriage. We just see it being dragged through the streets. What are people doing? What are people doing? They're having street parties. They're cheering it on. Yeah. What kind of psychology? We talk about the vote in Scotland and why people voted against their own independence. What about why people are cheering on the king? And he's not cheap. He's not cheap. He's not like chicken. He's got an extended family. He's got brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, nephews, cousins,
a cast of thousands.
Second cousins. Yeah. There's fucking thousands of them.
So why do you think there is absolutely no appetite for a republic? I mean, the figures are higher in Scotland, I grant you that, but in England, there's absolutely no appetite for it. Do you think that's entirely down to the media, or do you feel, as Anthony Barnett says, that it's part of the few things that people can cling on to as a result of the loss of empire?
People like laying down for them. People like laying down for them. So it's about subjugation. It's almost like, what's that, BDSM? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, you've got a gag on, you've been handcuffed, you're on your knees. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then they got the whip out. They're going, hit me more, because somehow you like it. Yeah. It's almost like you're masochist. Do you know what I mean? You've got pensioners who ain't what we've been talking about, right? I don't even know what it is. It's something like if you get more than £12,000, you ain't going to get it, which is also really stupid because means testing. It's going to take fucking billions
Yeah,
to like start
yeah,
like set up like you're going to have
it's
to start.
ridiculous.
You're going to have to
It
have
is.
a whole new department
It
that
is
means test
ridiculous.
things. Before it was just give like people money because it's like, well, these are
Well,
the like
let me
things
tell
from
you.
the Terra. This
Let me
is
tell you
oil
what.
and gas.
Let me tell you what.
This is things that are natural. But
You're
that's
absolutely
another thing, because even if I start saying that, right, because yes, we've got oil and gas in Scotland, but like we got BP and Shell, two of the biggest oil companies in the world,
yeah,
and they just go in anywhere they like
yeah.
and
I
drilling
mean,
for oil.
yeah,
They don't just stay out. There's no oil. That's the thing, isn't it? There's no oil in England, is there? How comes
no,
they got so much oil then? How comes like London and the city of London, the city of corruption? How comes it's so oil rich? Eh? Because they go around the world, they just grab it and take it wherever they want.
yeah,
Gangsters, mate.
yeah.
Absolute gangsters. The English are gangsters. That's why they like things like, wide boys like Del
Well,
Boy.
I wouldn't go that
Love it.
far. I think
Absolutely love it.
the power brokers tend to uh, uh, be that way. Most English people I know are straight down the middle, decent folks. Uh, but the people in charge, I suspect, are cut from a very different piece of cloth, and they're used to being in charge, and they want to stay in charge. I saw a lovely cartoon, you've probably seen it as well, where the king is standing on these battlements and he's looking down at all these people, and they're very upset, and they want to kill him and they want to get rid of him and all the rest of it. And he turns to an advisor and he says, "What should I do?" And the advisor says, "Well, all you have to do is persuade the guys with the pitchforks, that the guys with the lanterns are their opponents." And he said, "As long as you keep doing that, you'll be sitting pretty here forever." And there's a great truth in that, because of the lack of the first past the post system in Westminster actually encourages the politicians to behave in a way that they're not disposed to change of a significant nature, because they just have to outlast the other lot and they'll get back in again. And that's
Yeah.
pernicious, and it leads to a sort of corruption of the political process, it seems to me.
Yeah,
But
there was
you
a
look-
great
both-
poster.
you-
There was a great poster. I saw a poster up in King's Cross just at the election just now, and it says, "Don't vote for anyone. It only encourages them."
I know. The trouble with that,
I do think that sort of like the Labour Party are just carrying on the status quo. They're
Yeah.
still looking out for all the corporations. They're still kind of like they don't care about working people. This Labour government that's in now, they call them the Red Tories. They're basically Tories. They still just do like what good are they going to do? They're going to do nothing. They're going to keep it going until the real Tories come back into power, which will be about hopefully 10 years.
Mark, do you have a lamp or something? Because you're maybe
Yeah.
because the sun's gone down. You're that's better. Now we can see you again. That's
There you
great.
go. Sorry, it was getting dark. It's getting dark down here.
You were disappearing into the background.
darkness.
Well, that's great. No, it is a serious point, though. I mean,
But look at my. Hold on, wait. Look at my glasses. Can you see? There's the reflection of the iPad there.
yeah. Don't worry about
two
that.
eyes. I like that.
Don't worry
That's
about
really
that.
cool.
That
looks weird.
We've had a question which I'd like to put to you, if you don't mind, Mark, and it's this: what's your opinion of the party that's being established with Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, he hasn't established a party. What he's done is he's done an alliance in Parliament, four or five of them. No, there's five of them, isn't it? Him and four others. Love Jeremy Corbyn. He's like a proper man of the people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's never, he still wears knitted jumpers or whatever. He's had the same jacket on for years. Do you know what I mean? It's this light blue jacket. Every time I see him, I just think he's a sweetie. Do you know what I mean? He likes making jam, marmalade. And they were He loves a cup of tea. They were like trying to say that like he's anti-English. He's the most English person you could ever meet in your life. But they were scared of him because he wanted to change things. He really wanted to change things.
Am I right in thinking, Mark, that he got more votes than Keir Starmer did?
Yeah. What, in his constituency just now?
No. When he was running the Labour Party, when the Labour Party,
it's true.
Under his leadership,
the reason why the big reason why Labour didn't increase their vote, one of the big reasons why it was such a landslide was the collapse of the Tory vote.
Yeah.
So either they didn't vote or they voted for reform. But it's true, all of this kind of like first past the post and all the constituency, where you got millions upon millions upon millions of votes that don't matter.
Yeah.
You know, you've already won the constituency. So you could have, and it works both ways. So you could have someone in like North London where it's always been Labour, you know, and you're going to get like Labour winning. So you got like 30,000 votes. No one, they're never ever going to win. And you can do that in sort of like really Tory areas. I do think it should be, you know, it always works better if you have like, I think, obviously the coalition that we had here, the only one that in my lifetime, which was Nick Clegg and that. But, you know, I think across the world, it works really well. I think it was, Angela Merkel. I don't think she ever won a vote. No. So she always worked with Christian Democrats or the Greens. Yeah. So they're kind of like, I'm not big on German politics, but somehow they work, you know, coalitions and where you get more representation in Parliament.
It does. I mean, even in the sort of limited cases like Wales and Scotland, because the politicians, because a proportional system is used, it means that the number of seats reflects the number of votes. Yeah. And not this first past the post nonsense. I mean, for example, if you and I and Kevin, our producer, were standing in your constituency, and I got 30,000 votes, he got 30,001, and you got 30,002, then you get elected, even though the vast bulk of the people didn't want you.
Exactly.
60,000 odd people voted against you, and you get the seat.
It's madness. But I think also it's like, you know, just about representation and things like that. You know, it's so, you know, I don't know whether you see, but like whenever I see interviews on any of these shows, like Question Time, I think, or anything, you know, you barely get any Greens on there. You know, the Greens, they've now got 4 MPs. That is massive. 4 Green MPs. That is really, really big stuff. And they should have more. So their proportion of the vote, I think, I don't even know, but I think it's like they should have 30 or 40 MPs with the amount of people that voted Green across the country. But surely that's a really, you know, and I do know that there's, you know, there's Tory Greens, and they're all, a lot of Greens are quite conservative as well. Or there's that strain within the Green Party. I do believe that sort of like the idea of like thinking about the environment and thinking about the climate crisis is a really positive way to sort of like be taking your sort of like, you know, your government, your constitution, whatever it is, you know, your policies that you're making. You have to think about, you know, the green agenda. And me personally, I think Ed Miliband is quite good on that stuff. I really do. But I do think that ultimately it won't be down to Ed Miliband. It will be down to sort of like, so maybe it's just a sort of like a mouthpiece for like saying they're going to do stuff when really like nothing really changes. But I think renewables, green energy, I think all of that needs to be like, you know, that needs to be every day. We need to be battering that through. But you're fighting the forces of capitalism. Do you know what I mean? Because all the green energy stuff is about, and I think like the whole philosophies of the way that, like, for instance, recycling. I think like I was told like 15, 20 years ago that recycling is Armageddon. And the philosophy of recycling is literal Armageddon. And what Norton was saying to me 20 years ago was, if we keep doing this, people are going to keep drinking bottles of water and throwing it in the recycling thing. Yeah. Because what you're doing is you're just using it one time. your yogurt pots, anything plastic. And it encourages more and more and more and more. But he was talking about reusing, and you have to change the philosophy from recycling, because it means people will throw, like, and it's gone, exponentially. It's like fucking through the roof. And half the plastics you can't even recycle anymore. And they don't even get recycled. There's like a small percentage. I did look up your local, I encourage people to look up to your local dump, your local waste thing, and find out how much stuff is being recycled. It's like 10 to 20%, and all the rest is going landfill.
Let me share something with you. The Scottish Parliament voted last year, I think it was, on providing a small amount of money back to people who recycled, i.e. if you put your plastic bottle in a particular receptacle, you would get some money back. It's used in Ireland, it's used all over the world. The Tories, using their devolved powers, scotched it. They said, we don't want to do this because we want to have a UK-wide programme. And I think the Scottish government argued, well, we'll start it off then. We'll start it off and you can watch us as a test case. And if it works out, you can apply it right across the island. They said, no, we're not having it until we've worked out a deal for the whole of the UK. It's never going to happen. Why didn't they go ahead and just let them do it, for crying out loud?
I don't think they should pay people to recycle. They should pay people to reuse. Do you know what I mean? If you reuse your bottle, look, get a fucking water bottle. It's not fucking rocket science. Do you know what I mean? Get a water bottle and like carry a water bottle every single day of the week. Don't buy bottles of water. Don't buy, like, when you go in the supermarket, don't buy things. Cut down on your plastics. But also, it's like, it has to be mandated. Do you know what I mean? The same way as they say, right, it's £10 for a plastic bag or whatever they say. Do you know what I mean? No, mandate that people have to reuse things. It's important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you were to put on your political forecaster's hat for a second, Mark, and look down the road, and what do you think the next 2 years are going to look like?
Fucking, like, over the last sort of like 10 years, or 20 years, sorry, all I've seen is disaster capitalism, disaster after disaster, Iraq war, the financial crash, Brexit, COVID. Do you know what I mean? It's one fucking disaster after another, and they love it. It's that guy who says, I want to wake up tomorrow morning and there be another financial crash, because that's when they make money. But it's always like, what happens with that? There's no peace in the world. When there's no peace, when there's only fucking chaos, you cling to the people in power. Do you know what I mean? You're looking for, you should just fucking stop the disaster. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyone with any, like, they should stop that thing in fucking Gaza right now. But it's not only do they not stop it, they condone it, they encourage it, they support it, they give arms for it. Do you know what I mean? And then they row back the other day, we're going to stop 30 contracts. We've got 350 more. But it's the rhetoric, it's the talking, it's the complicity. We were talking about it today in the hospital. We have like, it was Terence McKenna. We have everything. We have the love, the power, the money, the knowledge, the scientific understanding, the art, to live in a kind of paradise. But the powers that be choose not to, because they want it. That's why when we open the show, the economy relies on people suffering. The economy works on the pain of others. That's how it works. Or that's the economy. That's the capitalist society that we've built.
But look at the situation in the States in the late 30s. FDR became president, and he'd gone through the usual political nonsense, governor of New York, and eventually got the top job. And all the conventional economists at that time were saying exactly what they're saying in the UK just now, which is you have to reduce costs, you have to reduce taxes. It was all very conventional. And he said, the way we're going to handle this is we're going to put money in people's pockets. We need some.
Yes.
We need some decent roads. We're going to build roads right across the US. People are going to say it's not necessary. Well, I think it is necessary because the people who have to build those roads have to be paid. These people who've been paid have money in their pockets. Their families have money. The families go out and spend the money, and therefore you keep the number of shops and stores and
Yeah.
other facilities. It's not rocket science. This is
I think we
not.
should have universal basic services, and I think
Yeah,
we should have universal basic income. I think
yeah.
everyone should get like £5,000 a month each. I think we should have free internet. I think we should have free transport, universal basic services. I think we should have it all. I think we should have ice skating, football. You know, I've been playing a lot of football. So I play for Bromley and like I'm top scorer at the moment. And I've got a big tournament on Saturday. We've got the Kent Cup where we've got Margate,
Good luck.
Canterbury, Dartford. Yeah, and I'm playing in it. You know, like so last year I ended up in the Bromley drug and alcohol unit again. So I really wasn't well. I was like fucking desperate. I was a terrible state. But anyway, I'm better now. And they
What
sent me
position
to
do you
play
play, Mark?
centre forward.
You do?
Yeah. I
My
score all the
word.
goals. Like I played for a few different. Like I played for like with a couple of different teams, but my team we're top of the league. Last year we were bottom. This year we're top. We played 4 games. We won 4 games. But I've also been like rigged in for playing for a couple of other teams as well, and I'd scored loads for this team. We were aiming even in their team, but I like scored 2 on Monday night for them. Scored a hat trick the time before. Scored 4 goals the time before that. Yeah. But I like scoring goals. I love scoring goals. I
Who
can
else
score
is in the
goals
team?
as well.
I mean,
And I'm 60. I've been like I put chia seeds in. So I've got lots of fiber. There's chia seeds in here. Do you know those chia seeds? They go gelatinous. And
tell me,
your
tell me.
constitution's amazing. But I've been having a lot of protein, but on the day of the football I fill up with carbs. I
Yeah,
eat about 4 hours before, and
yeah,
then like you just got energy. But I don't
yeah.
even know. So I like change. I'm kind of like my history is like through drug addiction. So I like changing how I feel. So
Good.
football, when you're running,
Yeah,
you have massive endorphins, and
yeah,
you get like
yeah,
um, you know, you're high. You're
yeah,
and everyone gets tired. And I think when I get tired, I start to feel the rushes. I
yeah,
start to get high. It's like you're on mushrooms or you've been smoking weed. And the more you run after the ball, the more
yeah,
you're running up and down the pitch. You know, it's like the match ends. And some of the people I'm playing with are like in their early 20s. I'm
yeah,
60. And it's like when the match ends, I was thinking,
yeah,
oh, I don't want to stop. Can we play another game? I can't, if it's a night match, I go home. I can't even sleep. I stay awake till 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm still thinking about not just the goals that I scored, but the one that the goalie tipped over the bar that should have been
yeah.
my hat trick. I know.
Well, tell me. So, looking ahead, you're not terribly optimistic. What future do you think lies ahead for Scotland?
Yeah, you know, the thing about Scotland is you have everything up there. You got the nature, you got beautiful people, you got the art, you've got everything that you want. You know, you go north in Scotland up to the Highlands, it's extraordinary. It's absolutely a beautiful, incredible place. What a place to grow up in. What a place to live in. You know, to live down here is fucking. I don't know if I would love to live in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? I'd
Well,
love to go on an island in Scotland.
well,
I should move to Scotland.
you should. You should. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be good for you all round. There's lots of people who play football as well.
yeah.
Not very well.
Scotland can play football. I don't know whether you saw they had a cricket match today against Australia. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh my God. So Scotland played Australia in a 2020 match,
Yeah,
and Scotland scored, I think they scored about 150, 160. So they got a batsman called Travis Head, Australia, and they scored 113 runs. I think it was in the first 5 or 6 overs. That's 20 runs. That's 20 runs and over.
Yeah.
He's got him and the other guy, but Travis Head is absolutely brutal. It's a
But,
world record. It was a world record today against
but
Scotland.
how can you play cricket in Scotland? It never stops raining long enough.
I know. Yeah.
That's why the place is so green. I mean, you know, it's remarkable. People,
Yeah, like Ireland.
I don't think people. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think people in Scotland fully appreciate how green and verdant the place is. First time I noticed it.
I think, like, going back to politically, okay, so the SNP have completely kind of collapsed, and it's not looking good for the independence movement. It looks like, you know, that's going to take maybe even another generation before something like that happens or something moves. And I think it may never change, you know. And I think, you know, politically, I think the Greens do quite well in Scotland, don't they?
Well, some people have commented on the feedback tonight that the SNP Green Alliance was not very good. I mean, they had I mean, I think they got wrapped around the axle on some of these gender issues, and the polling suggested that this was a minority concern, but somehow it occupied the minds of the people at the top of the SNP and the Scottish Government for a long period. Somebody is asking what you think of Nicola Sturgeon.
Yes, I did interview Nicola when I was up in where was we? Yeah, it was in Glasgow. Yeah. You know, I really liked Nicola Sturgeon. I really thought she's probably like the greatest politician Scotland's ever had. You know, what's happened, who knows? I don't even fucking know. Something about a motorhome or something. But like, I always think, like, fuck's sake, that's it. Like, they bought like what a minibus, or what they bought. They bought like a fucking van.
I don't know.
Oh, it's fucking. You know, I you know, really hated by the English government. You know, a real sort of like challenge to English authority, English rule over Scotland. You know, the media. You know, they were relentless in hounding her. You know, I really like her. I still like her, and I think she's a good person. And you know, fucking, really like Mary Black. You know, people like that. I like Tommy Shepherd, Chris Law. You know, I don't know what you lot think. Fucking Tommy Sheridan. I remember going up to like Glasgow, and Tommy Sheridan. Right, I had my little one with me at the time. We ended up on like a block of flats, and he was in the community hall. So I'd never met him before, so I just wanted to go and listen to him. And he stood up. He was like in this community hall, and I don't even know what he's up to now. I haven't heard from him for a while, but he was fucking amazing that day. You know, like, I've been out to loads of political rallies, but I thought he's such a good speaker. He was really forceful. He was really passionate. You know, he really held the people. You know, he was like, Tommy Sheridan. They didn't like him either, did they? Always. So they always want to take people out. Anyone that goes against the grain, they're not going to let it happen.
Yeah, it'd be good if there were a few more characters around. You should stand for Parliament. You should stand.
Don't. And you imagine then they go and like start looking at my history. I should just blag it. I just go, because it's true. Because people have like really fucking bad histories, don't they? Trump, Farage, they're absolute scoundrels. What about that? Oh, Elon Musk. God, I hate that guy so much. He's like a real stain on humanity.
Yeah,
you know, he's awful. Like what he's done and what he's doing, and how, you know, he's very sort of like insidious, kind of awful. Like
you realise
it's on the algorithms. You know,
you're going to get
really
yourself
awful.
banned from X / Twitter if you.
But I do think it's like, you know, where's the goodness in the world, and how we destroy that, and how anyone, you know, this whole kind of like stuff around wokeness.
Yeah.
You know, this whole idea of like anyone being decent, that, you know, we can only like live in pain and suffering. There's that Nietzsche, you know, why do we live? Why do we suffer?
Yeah.
We know that the human condition, you know, that life's a struggle, and, you know, relationships, family, you know, financial, everything, that life's always a struggle. And, you know, and there are ways to drop out, and, you know, just, you know, there's different states of mind, you know, we can overcome things through, you know, understanding and self-knowledge, you know, self-knowledge. I'm a big advocate on self-knowledge, understanding feelings and emotions and how not to react to things. But I do think, like, ultimately, you know, there's so many good people out there, but this notion of being this kind of altruistic, and the way that they look at altruism and just call it woke now, it's like, what the fuck, you know? It's really awful. Nah, you're fucking. They always want to get you, don't they? Anyone that's like preaching anything to do with, you know, love or harmony, or like less solidarity or community, is a fucking woke. It's you know, that's the thing, is people, they would rather people, you know, stay at home than physically go to the community meeting, or physically go to your community to help to do things, you know. And maybe things work better in micro kind of like communities, you know, but still you'll get stuff going on, but at least you got half a chance, you know.
Well,
And I think the mobile phone, great, where like I'm on the iPad here, I've got my phone here.
yeah.
But I do think that's, you know, socially, that's had a big impact on all of our lives. We can see it with our children, and, you know, it's a fucking disaster, mate.
I
You
mean,
know, it hurts my eyes.
you must see the same things I see. Parents are out, they go to some place to sit down, have a bite to eat, and they maybe got a couple of 3 kids, and immediately the kids get their phones out or their iPads out, and nobody talks to each other. They sit there and they eat, but nobody talks to each other.
Yeah, but if you think of evolution, you know, and how quickly things have evolved in the past, sort of like our 50, 60 years, but last 100 years, and, you know, where we're going. And, you know, giraffes have a long neck, you know, for specific reasons, because they wanted to get the leaves that were really high up. So this whole thing of just like, you know, staring at your phone,
Yeah.
you imagine where we're going to be, just staring at things, because, you know, some of these things are very addictive, but they're very emotionally addictive, and sort of like they attach into your psyche, into your skin. You know, people are scrolling through things. Like before, if you saw a really good goal, remember they used to have goal of the season, but you have to wait all season to see all the best goals together. Now you can just look like fucking fantastic goal, the best song ever, a crazy moment, and it's just boom, 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 boom. A kitten. Let's get back to fucking kittens.
Back to the kitten again.
A kitten licking, you know, and then it's boom, boom. So you're having these, like, you know, and they've got algorithms that put the most exciting videos up, and it's really fast, reels, you know, and you're just like, you're going to be a nation of fucking ADHD. You know, I can't even watch a film. Like, my attention span, this is long for me, you know, but at least like, you know, I'm looking at a screen. So as long as I'm looking at a screen, I'm probably happy, you know. But it's sad in a way, because, you know, it's breathing air. You know, it's climbing a mountain, or going for a walk.
I mean, this is pretty serious, and I think a lot of people watching will probably agree with you. But what about the effect of AI, artificial intelligence?
Yeah,
because
I mean, they've got good things and bad things about that.
Yeah.
So there's some good things, like medically, and things that will be able to like do things that you just wouldn't even dream of, you know, medically. But I saw the other day, so they had this whole field of drones. There was like something like 1,000 drones, 1,200 drones, and they all lift up and they go into the sky.
Yeah.
And they did the Nutcracker ballet. It was fucking 12 1,200 drones performing the Nutcracker in this sky. And then I was thinking, oh my fucking God, imagine if they were armed drones.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking hell. Imagine there was 1,200 armed drones.
But
they can make as many as they want. This is fucking Star Wars territory. Imagine there's like fucking 10,000, 20,000. Imagine there's 500,000 armed drones.
Think of it on a more basic level. I mean, the prison authorities can't stop drugs getting into prisons now because they're delivered by drones. And sometimes what happens is that the people who are shipping the drugs will send 2 or 3 drones at the same time.
Yeah.
So while the prison authorities are chasing 2, the other one is actually delivering its payload. So you've got a ridiculous situation where the technology has outsmarted the arrangements, and the likelihood is that, you know, if you study
I don't want to go on the technology and the things of prisons that there's some kind of roof, like if it's near.
Well, they don't have enough people. I mean, already they're laying prison officers off.
Prison officers, they're the ones with the drugs.
Well,
that's true. They bring it in. Of course they do. Who else do you think brings it in? They get like thousands of pounds outside. No one else can bring it in. It's the prison officers. Trust me.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've only got about 3 or 4 minutes to go.
No way! Is it an hour already?
It goes fast. I always say to people, you know, the time just goes so fast.
This is a great show. When is it on? Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Where do you stream it? Do you go on YouTube?
Yeah, it's all on. We've had 177 shows, and they're all on YouTube. You can go to any.
Well, if it goes on YouTube, I'll send when it's over. I'll send it to people because a lot of people can't watch it live, but they can watch it later.
You know, well, the bulk of our audience actually watch the show on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's good. Why not? Why shouldn't we use the technology if it's available?
Yeah.
So
no, because YouTube, it renders the video, doesn't it? So it's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and we've interviewed people like Marcus Chown, the scientist, and a whole bunch of other folks, and all the economists who have a non-orthodox or conventional approach to economics. And we've talked about modern monetary theory. We've covered a whole raft of different topics. I mean, we try, because people like it because they can come on and talk and they don't get cut off every 10 seconds. You know. But we're almost through, Mark, so we've just got a couple of minutes to go. Is there one last message you would like to send to all the folks out there? What would it be?
You know, I do think, like, you know, with the Keir Starmer gloom, things are going to get worse. You know, I do think, you know, we do have some autonomy, you know, within our own selves and on how we, you know, conduct ourselves in our lives. And, you know, there are ways of, you know, mitigating some of the fucking awful things that happen. And a lot of it is being, like, a good person or wanting to be like, you know, someone always said to me, like, if you go and help people, you're not just helping people, you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and how that works is that it's how you feel inside.
Exactly.
You know, so lots of like things like protesting the war in Gaza, or like, you know, supporting your NHS, supporting your local community, you know, supporting like your neighbours, you know, and lots of that stuff, you know, engaging in things like, I love my football, and football's with like all people that live locally, people that I never met before, you know, and it's about meeting new people and trying new experiences. You know, I spend a lot of time in the mental hospital, and it's like, you know, it's an extraordinary space, and it's like we all have to find, you know, where our space is, where our people are.
Well, that's a good message to end with, Mark.
Yeah.
If you could stick around for a few minutes after we go, I'd appreciate that. But a big thank you to you. I really appreciate you.
Thank you to you and everyone at the show.
Thank you. You're very kind. Well, that's the show, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Our aim is to inform, educate and entertain. And I think we've achieved much of that tonight. We've got another great show coming up for you next week, when I hope you'll join us at 7 o'clock next Wednesday. As always, we're live. We call it the TNT Show because it stands for The Nation Talks. And while we can't communicate directly because we don't have the sophisticated technology that the BBC has perhaps, but you can communicate with us all of the time by the messaging system. And we'll try and cover as many of your questions as we possibly can. So to all of you, thanks for watching. Thanks for your questions. Look after each other, take care and stay safe. And we'll see you next week. Good night.